The Volkswagen Passat is somewhat of a staple in regards to business fleets, in that almost any sizable fleet or any kind of business you will see probably running Passats. It's between that or an Insignia. Volkswagen have taken it upon themselves to ensure that no matter where your business goes, if it's mainly around the city or mainly on motorways, they have options to suit you. So this 2017 Passat, this is a business spec with some options on it, is a 1.4 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with active cylinder technology, which means when I'm sat at around 30-40 miles an hour in fourth gear going around town, it will turn 2 of the cylinders off to get me really good fuel economy, and it will do the exact same thing on the motorway. You're sat in 6th gear, you're sat at 65 miles an hour, and it will do that for you. Now this car on the road, very basic price without any options, is £24,500. That's including that. But this specific version, because it's got some options on it, brings it to just under £30,000 on the road. Now, fuel economy is really important. There's no denying that. So this needs to get reasonable fuel economy on a run. So I'm going to use a bit of A road, B road and motorway, and I'm going to see what the combined through those three is. And while it is all extra urban, I'm going to see how close it is to the combined, which on this I think is around 55 miles per gallon. So cue the super sped up video and some cool music now. 53 miles per gallon is achievable on normal motorway driving. That is at 70 miles an hour. That is with 60 mile an hour on back roads, 50 mile an hour on back roads, but generally up and down inclinations on the road, so it's not completely flat. I think if you could get a flat enough road and you drove at 65 miles an hour, you would see high 50s, but not 60. But okay, fair enough, that's a good claim, and they're pretty close to it in the grand scheme of things. So, economy test, success. Looks wise, Volkswagen have kept it very much as you would expect, in that it still looks like a Passat. I have a 2011 Passat and I put it side by side. It's the same length, it's the same width, and generally it has the same feel. But it's a good looking car that will always suit quite well no matter where it needs to go. If you're parking outside a wedding that you're attending, it will look okay, but if you parked outside a business meeting, it will look great. And that Greg's that you've stopped at, other food shops are available, it will also look good outside of there. So where this really has been updated is the technology, and the engine is quite surprising in that it's got 150 PS, which is probably 145, 146 brake horsepower. It's a 1.4 litre 4-pot engine that will turn 2 of its cylinders off that it needs to do. So okay, that's your first bit of technology update. Then you've got their brand new display unit, their new infotainment system, which is absolutely bonkers insane. However, I do feel the nav unit is still behind some of its competitors. And then you have the most insane dashboard you've ever seen in your life, which is entirely customizable to whatever you feel that you would want to have on there. So while you'll always need to have your RPM and you'll always need to have your speedometer on there, there are little options here or there that you can change. You go, I don't want to know my average since I've started, I want to know exactly what's going on right now. And then on my right one, I don't want to see this, I want to see something else. And in the middle, I want to have the map from the nav. You can have it there easily. And inside, it's equally as refined as I've always remembered Passats being, which is why I've had two. I've had a B6 and a B7, in that it gives you what you need without being overly expensive. It's comfortable, especially on runs, and it's quiet and it's refined. So they've carried that over. Inside, this is equally as refined as any previous model they've had, but now it's just a bit more quiet. And the sound system is, as per usual, extraordinarily good, even as a base model. Driving characters wise, this one has mode select, so that I'm able to drive relatively hard and select slightly heavier steering and a slightly faster throttle response, but then on a run you can then swap it to a economy setting, which gives you sloppier suspension and less engaging steering, shall we say, in that you have to put little or no impact in and actually move. but driving wise it's fine. Economy wise, this is where I guess it depends what you need the car for. See, around town it's totally feasible that you would achieve 40 to 45 miles per gallon around town. Totally achievable, because unless you're stuck in start-stop traffic, it is great around town. But on the motorway, I guess my issue is that because it's a heavy car, I'm not sure it'll ever actually achieve near the figures they say. The 55 miles per gallon, achievable, yeah. On a run, 62, 63 miles per hour, it's totally doable. But I think that's where it ends. I don't think it will reach the 60s it says it can, only because the diesel sometimes struggles to reach those 60s that it says it can. But it depends for what you need. If you have a business which relies on you driving in cities more, and you don't want to get hit with the T-charge, which is going to be coming into play in every single city eventually, then these petrol variants, they're a no-brainer. They're going to save you an absolute fortune, and fuel economy wise around town you see no difference, and actually it would probably save you money in the long run with clogged DPFs. However, if you do high mileage, if your drivers are driving up and down the country, the diesel's the way to go, because tank for tank you'll see substantially more range. Just because if you look at even like a 1.6 litre diesel Passat on a run at 60 miles an hour, you can see insane figures like 70, 75 miles per gallon real world out of that car. And if you have sensible drivers that do behave on their right foot, it just means that the petrol couldn't even compete. Low capacity wise, it's still equally as great as every version I've ever owned. It's a huge amount of space in the back, and without question takes all of my equipment. Obviously having the automatic rear tailgate makes life a bit easier loading stuff in. But overall, this is a fantastically well-built car. Nothing looks cheap and rubbish. Everything works as you would expect it to, and it's got a nice warm feel to it. You know, some cars are a little bit dull and plasticky inside. This does have plastic everywhere, but it's a nice plastic that gives you confidence in its durability. The seats are uber comfortable. There's loads of room in the back for your passengers. So when you have maybe a taxi driver looking and saying, I'm going to be using one of these as a taxi around town, there's loads of room in the back to put passengers in. The verdict is quite simple. The Passat is a great car. It's built superbly well and looks great.